The pre-release event for Marvel Superheroes is this weekend. So this video is to get you ready to start playing in your pre-release event. We're going to try and build a deck from these 6 packs. The only thing that we are missing is the foil bonus pack or whatever it is. You get 1 additional card in there, but it's going to be close enough that we're going to build something from this. So if you have any questions or concerns and want to be ready for this weekend to build a winning pre-release kit, be sure to watch through the whole video, and if you have any questions, drop them in the comment section after the video is over. So we're going to crack all of these packs, and what I like to do best is just throw them all in piles. And I'll do that really quickly here, not to waste time. It's just going to go black, blue, colorless, more blue, red, green, multicolored. We're looking for the last one. Oh no. White. There we go. So you're just going to throw them all into their own piles here, and so on and so forth. Okay? I'll be back. Now, with that out of the way, the next step after gawking at your cards a little bit is to figure out which direction you want to go. In this case, we'll bring up the graphic that was created by Wizards of the Coast to kind of guide us in the color pairings that we can use to build a pre-release kit and ensure that we stay on track. And the way that I like to narrow down which one to pick is by using our multicolored creatures here to kind of see where commonalities lie. Off the bat, I see a lot inside of Thor, or Boros here, with 2 War Machines and Thor Odinson. Other than that, we do have Absorius, castable with Selesnya. This is not super synergistic. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I mentioned Tony Stark beforehand, but Tony Stark is technically Izzet. So this would also fall under here. And we do have an Iron Man Machines and a Tony Stark. So there's a little synergy there. Other than that, it seems like everything else is kind of just outliers. If we get to the point where we need to review these, we will. But right now, I think our best bet is to follow the drift and go with red and whites and build off of there. See if we can make Boros work. If Boros can't work, we might try and do an Izzet strategy or do all 3. All right, with things cleared up a little bit, let's take a look at our Boros cards and see what we can build from here. First things first is we want to take a look at our creatures. Building a solid creature base in this situation is going to be key. However, the thing to note for Boros is they want to be casting non-creature spells, so we will be sitting at the lower end of the recommendation. And for this, we're sitting at like 14 to 16 creatures. And then you build all your non-creature spells into there with an addition of 17 lands. So we'll be aiming for the lower end just to have a good base of creatures I'll be swinging with. But we want to keep in mind that we want to keep non-creature spells in there because there's a lot of activations inside of Boros that trigger off of casting non-creature spells. I'm going to take a look at those now. I kind of organize these up a little bit. First things first, pulling all the creatures out. From looking at the creatures, we want to find duplicates. Duplicates are key inside of Sealed because it makes your deck way more consistent. If your deck is consistent, you know what to expect and play around that synergy. In the creature slot for white, we have Heroes in Training as a dupe. And that is it looks like. Boo. We also do have a duplicate here with the War Machine in like the Boros color pairing here. And those are all in your 3 slot. And when we're looking at building our deck, we want to keep in mind a solid mana curve. And currently, in your 4 slot, we're sitting at like 3 to 4 is like the optimal number. And we've already hit that point. So hopefully we don't have anything crazy in the 4 slot up here. Otherwise, we're going to have to make some decisions. In terms of 2 slots, we have our Agent of Atlas, Brave Brawler, and Colleen Wing. And each of these kind of synergize around the casting the non-creature spells. So whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you control, which is generally a non-creature spell, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, prowess triggers. So these 2 kind of focus and hit that synergy of casting non-creature spells. Brave Brawler is just a 2/2, go with an activated ability. Lifelink is pretty good, especially in Sealed, so If you're in a situation where you feel like you're getting outpaced, you could always board swap that in, but I'm leaning towards not including him right now because I'm hoping for some better creatures in the 2 slot. Set him aside. And then Quake, Agent of Shield is a 3. Whenever you cast on a creature spell, you tap target creature. And then Kree's Commando, Flying Vigilance, Prowess. These are also in the 3 slots. So we have a lot of 3 slot creatures. Which is not good. I'm saying 3 slot, not 4 slot. 3 slot, we can have a few more than what I mentioned. Refer to the graphic, not to my voice. Okay. 2 slots, 3 slots. Now, at the rest of our white cards, we'll just kind of keep in mind what we're seeing as we're going through here. Borrow through backup, create 2/3/2 white hero creature tokens, basic land cycling. Meaning, if you draw this early in the game, you can basic land cycle it out to go and grab a basic land. That way you can stay on curve if you're behind on curve or something like that. But in the late game, you can cast this to trigger all of your prowess effects for 5 mana and get 2/3/2 bodies. Avengers Assemble, slash heroes you control get +2/+2 at the beginning of each end step. If you attacked with a hero this turn or a hero entered the battlefield, you get to draw a card. 5 mana is pretty expensive, but that +2/+2 and draw a card in the late game can be pretty big. So for now, we'll set these aside because 5 mana, you only want a couple in there. You don't want too many, and this might break the bank. Murdoch's Crusade, Teamwork, a nice removal spell. Super Villain Lockup, also a removal spell by exiling some stuff. Origin of Avengers is another 2 mana spell. You can toss out a hero on 2, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control so you make them bigger. Could be pretty interesting, but we're running a low creature deck, so relying on these might be not ideal. Shield Spy Kits. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 whenever a creature attacks, untap it, and scry 1. So kind of like a pseudo vigilance in that situation. And then Political Triumph. Whenever a creature you control enters scry 1, put a play counter on this enchantment. When the 4th play counter is put on this enchantment, sacrifice it, draw a card, and put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. For 1, that's actually pretty solid. But we're going to move on to the red so we can see what kind of red creatures that we are working with to hopefully build out our final curve. So we're just going to pull all creatures out from here and ignore everything else. Boom. All right, we have a Hydra Robot Assistant in the 2 slot, and then we have another Thor in the 5 slot. Double Thor over here. Loon Warrior, Stark Industries Executive, Volcanic Villain, and Jessica Jones. The 1 slot, pay 2, create a treasure token. That's actually kind of interesting, but 2 mana to benefit or get 1 for future mana is but it is a 1-drop, so it could be interesting just as a 1/2. Just get something out really quick and early. Especially if you're in like your second turn, you don't have a 2 to cast. You can just make a treasure, pushing yourself to potentially 4, turn 3. It's give and take. Give and take. Then Hydra Assault Robot, whenever another villain or artifact you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to target opponent. Probably not going to be doing a whole lot of this, so I don't know if we'll run that. When the creature enters, you may sacrifice an artifact or discard a card. If you do, draw a card. It's a 2 mana 2/2, so it might just be good just to have in general. Real quick, let's see. We only have 1 creature, 2 mana 2/2 when this enters Surveil 2. That's actually a pretty good body. 1/3 as well to kind of stave off early attacks. So we'll include that one as well. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 creatures currently in the deck. I'm not a huge fan of our curve here with the 3 slot, so we should probably trim this one down a little bit. Okay, thinking about it a little bit, I think I might cut the War Machines for right now, because while they're nice at the beginning of your combat, another target creature +X+O until end of turn, we don't have a whole lot of ways to like buff him specifically, so it's always going to be +1/+O, and we might have better to run in the 3 slot. So I'll set those aside for now, and we'll make some final decisions after. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I will like to buff the 2 slot here. So I might pull in this generic guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I wish we had a 4 level creature, just like something to go in between right here. I think that would be perfect. But unfortunately, we do not. I misspoke. We do actually have something for the 4 slot, which is going to be the Spider Woman. It gives the ability to tap something down and keep it tapped as long as it's out. And for a 1/4 body with a low creature count, this kind of works in our favor. It's flash too, so we can kind of react a little bit and push them onto their back foot, and keep that in control, and then block something else with a 1/4 body, which kind of staves off most things. It's just kind of like a deflection strategy. Then, the reason why I'm okay with keeping the creature count here, we do have a couple cards that will count as quote-unquote creatures, but also trigger some other things that we do have in the battlefield, like prowess and stuff like that. And that's going to be Hire a Crew, which will go into the 3 slot, and it's going to create a 2/1 villain, plus give creatures we control +1/+O until end of turn. So they get a nice little boost and a little attack at the same time. Then in the 5 slot, we also have the Burrow Backup, which will create 2/3/2 white hero creature tokens with vigilance. Also have basic land cycling, so if we get this early in the game, we can still basic land cycle it out and keep us on curve. Now that we have our creature spells figured out, we're sitting at about 15 quote-unquote creatures. And that is well within the area that we want to be, because with 15 to 16 creatures, then you have 7 to 8 non-creature lands to work with, or non-creature spells to work with, not lands. And that'll round out your 23 cards to pair with your 17 lands. This is kind of like the golden ratio that everyone builds around. So with these sorted, we'll add our non-creature spells in. One card I do like is this Political Triumph. It gives us early game scry advantage, plus you can sacrifice it and draw a card and put that +1/+1 counter on everything, increasing your potency. However, I'm more worried about our removal suite before I go further down this path. So for 1 control removal, quote unquote, is going to be your super villain lockup, which is going to be flash. When this enchantment enters, exile target tapped creature an opponent controls until the enchantment leaves the battlefield. So it has to be tapped, which is kind of a situation that you have to deal with, but you just bait them into attacking, and you flash it out and pin them down. Then we have Hulk Smash, Teamwork 4, destroy target non-creature artifact. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature and opponent control, so a little bit of removal. And then we have Murdoch's Crusade, which also does something kind of similar, but it exiles target creature with toughness 4 or greater, or exile target enchantment with mana value 4 or greater. Repulsor Blast, Teamwork 2, 5 damage to target creature. If the spell was cast using Teamwork, it also deals 2 damage to its controller. So that's 4 mana for a potential 7 damage to the face. I'm sorry, 5 damage to a creature, 2 to the face, but you get the point. Team Tactics, Teamwork 1, target creature gains double strike until end of turn. If it was cast using Teamwork, it also gains Trample. So that'll be nice to combo with like one of the Thors over here to get some action going. It's kind of a combat trick, in all honesty. You kind of have to bait somebody into attacking and then double the power and hope that it sticks if they're worried about you bluffing an attack. You could use it as quote-unquote removal, but it is also mainly just a combat trick in this situation. And then to round out our pile, I think we're going to go with these Shield Spy Kits, because they give this card advantage and keep things untapped. And since we're running low creature counts, having those creatures readily available to block is also going to be pretty huge. And they're just going to get, buffed in this situation, so we can defend things off. One thing that we could re-entertain now that we have an idea of what we're working with is these War Machine Legacy of Irons. We could pull this Jessica Jones out because the card advantage is nice, but you stun down a creature essentially for an entire turn. And it's a 2/3, so it's kind of okay. And then these both have a lot of prowess situations going. I like this one because you can tap down a non-creature or tap down a creature or a land, so you could force their hand to like tap and flow something and they move into combat and do something there, so they lose the mana and they can't counter you. That's kind of a sneaky strat. But I think we would keep the card draw, and then it's just going to be up to your choice. Honestly, I think I would probably swap the Quake 8, or keep the Quake Agent and swap out the Kree Commando with the Jessica, because these will give pseudo vigilance, and putting these on this will buff everything that you have out. So keeping those together would be very nice. On top of the fact this is a 2/1 with prowess, flying, vigilance. These both have flying, so you're netting one flyer, but you're also gaining general buffs to your deck. So at the end of the day, I think this is also a really good setup to keep with your creatures. Overall, this would be the deck that I would run for the pre-release event. If this was the packs I was given, the last thing to note to run through is just your lands. Find lands that'll give you card advantage, or, you know, fix your lands. So in our situation, we do have one Boros land that'll gain us some life, and then we have a surveillance room that if we wanted that surveil trigger, you could put that in there over a basic land. It does tap for colorless. I don't think the fixer is necessarily useful, especially in a 2-color deck. The odds of hitting 2 colors is just too high. So I would lean towards only putting this in if you really are worried about hitting a surveil trigger and getting some advantage there. Other than that, everything else is just kind of not in our color pairing. We did have a hidden layer, but unfortunately it's just not usable because we're not running Dimir. So yeah, this is the pre-release kit that I would put together, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Big thank you to Superscripts Comics and Games for allowing me to open a box for their stock. So if you see anything in this video you might want to pick up for yourself, head down to the description. A link to their store is there. Hopefully I see you around.